This is a second stimulus check and stimulus package update for today. Hope you are good and safe. This is our second of three second stimulus package updates today. Earlier, we had a really exciting video about a major new grant program that was announced today, Money for You. And coming up later is our third video about the Main Street Lending Program, new updates. But this video, let's get right to it, is going to detail for you a lot of great benefits coming to you from the states and the federal government just revealed today. You'll only hear them on this channel. As always, like and subscribe to this channel and drop your comments below, and we may feature them in tomorrow's recording. And please hit that bell on the front of this channel so you get an alert when we have another second stimulus video. Today, there was new, exciting news, great news that was revealed about how stimulus, namely unemployment assistance and pandemic unemployment assistance, would continue later this year and next year. This is a little bit complex, so I want you to pay careful attention because it's a little bit unusual. But as you know, if you are unemployed, you can get unemployment assistance if you were an employee, a W-2 person. You could also get pandemic unemployment assistance, PUA, if you were an independent contractor impacted by COVID-19. Now, as you know, the federal government is providing $600 per week if you were impacted by COVID-19 from the months of March to July. Each week, $600. That's on top of your state benefits you get for unemployment. So, if your state pays about $139 per week introductory unemployment, the federal government will give you an additional $600 per week. The minimum benefits you'll get is about $700 per week when you include the $600 for federal and about the $130 from the state. That's from March to July. But as a lot of you have been asking me, what happens after July? And what happens if you go back to work now and then you're laid off in, let's say, August or September? What happens if there's another lockdown? Will you get $600? Will you get additional money? Well, this video explains to you the really great news that no other channel has detailed to you. There's two types of extension of benefits, and most people usually only think about the federal $600, the federal extension of benefits. Let me back up. When you apply for unemployment assistance from your state, I don't care if it's unemployment or PUA, you have an eligible period. That period is 52 weeks. So you come into the system, the computer system of your state, you're approved for 52 weeks. So if you started in March, you are approved to March of next year. Now, how many weeks are you actually paid? I mean, that's the big question. So you've all been asking me, well, how about when I run out of benefit weeks? When I don't have any more benefit weeks, what do I get? And usually we're always thinking about the CARES Act. We usually only think about the CARES Act, which extended the number of eligible weeks an additional approximately 13 weeks on top of that. That's what most people usually think about. Well, here's the great news. No one's ever told you this until today. States have state law to extend the number of eligible weeks of benefits on top of what their normal period of eligibility is. This is different than for the CARES Act. And every state is wanting to do that. They do it in cases of massive unemployment. What am I talking about? Well, you have your eligible period, your 52 weeks, and you're worried you're going to run out of those weeks, and you're worried about the federal extension of 13 weeks. You're worried about all that. Don't worry, because states also have additional weeks that they extend beyond that. So how does this work? Let me go through this. And it's very interesting, and it's great news. The only thing that is hideously confusing about this. It depends from state to state. So, how many weeks they're going to give you. So, let me explain this to you. Um, every state triggers additional benefits weeks if they want to do it. Most states have what's called extended benefits. These are things different than the CARES Act, so it has nothing to do with the CARES Act. What's great, the laws of all states allow the states to extend the weeks of benefits to you beyond the normal 52 weeks. Most of these states have already triggered these additional benefits. So we've all been talking about the CARES Act, and unbeknownst to us, many states have already triggered these additional weeks of benefits, which are separate and apart from the CARES Act. And what are they? They're typically about an additional 13 extra weeks. This is great news. Some states like Florida and North Carolina pay a little bit less. They'll do less weeks. They'll do about 6 weeks. But some states, wow, they'll pay an additional 20 weeks of unemployment assistance. An additional. So if you are worried and you're looking at your eligible week period, and you're looking at 52 weeks, and you're, hey, I'm worried I'm going to run out. I'm worried about the federal CARES Act they're not going to pass a second stimulus package and give additional weeks. Don't worry, because a lot of states are giving additional weeks. The lowest amount are about 13, and the highest is about 20 additional weeks. This is great news. So under a second stimulus package and stimulus program, what could happen is the following. If you have gone back to work, and for whatever reason, your employer or your place of work, whether it's independent contractor or employer, lays you off or furloughs you, and you lose that job or you reduce the number of hours, guess what? You can go right back onto unemployment or PUA assistance. Yes. So I have a lot of viewers that got assistance in around April, because as you know, it went live around April 28th. So they got assistance then. Then they may have been invited back to work, and they've gone back to work in June. Well, don't worry, because if you are laid off, or you have your hours reduced, or if you need assistance in the coming weeks, you just go back to your state and certify for benefits for those weeks. Because you're already in the system. You are already approved for your eligible period of 52 weeks, all the way from, let's say if you applied in March, all the way to March 2021. And don't worry if you're worried about running out of additional weeks, because your states have already triggered those additional weeks. They're going to pay you more than a 52-week period. They're going to pay you an additional 13, 20 weeks beyond that. Now, as you know, there are the amounts of money that every state pays. So there are certain amounts. Most states have what's called a bank amount. A bank amount can be up to about $9,888. And that is generally certain within that prescribed period of 52 weeks. So if you only got, let's say, $2,000-$3,000 of unemployment or PUA assistance, you got your job back, you're working some hours, and you're thinking, what happens if there's a second wave of pandemic? Will I get a second stimulus package? What will I do to get the remainder of the money from my state? Don't worry, because you probably have about $6,000 additional for this eligible period to March of next year that you can get from your state if you are impacted. So it's great news. The only thing that's a little confusing is the difference from state to state. Every state has a different number of weeks. Every state has a different amount of money, but the application is the same. So let me get to a couple of your second stimulus check and stimulus package questions. One viewer from Florida minutes ago sent me a text, not a text, a Instagram, a DM, and said, "Hey, am I getting 135 a week or am I getting 700 a week?" So understand, under the CARES Act, that $600 from the federal government currently will be paid to you for every week you certify for benefits from March to July. After July, it's proposed to run out currently. Many think that that is going to be extended beyond the month of July. It is universally thought that federal government aid is not sufficient to run out in July, that it has to be extended. So that's the good news. Wicked Willage, you're very interested in this information. Thank you. Gladys, thank you for all you do. I'm subscribed to this channel. Well, thank you. One viewer actually sent me a message as well. Oh, so here it is right here. You can't just take the $600 and expect everything is good. Maybe too much is better and a little bit is not enough. Well, very good. I mean, what's interesting here is that states are still getting ramped up to pay benefits. So with some of your states, if you're waiting for the pandemic unemployment assistance or UI, they will pay. Some of them are backlogged. Some of them have had computer hacks, sadly, and Ohio was among them. Several states like Florida and Texas have been slow on unemployment and pandemic unemployment assistance. But the good news is you're going to get paid for them. And the good news is you're going to get paid retroactively. They pay back to the date at which you said you were impacted by COVID-19. So when you apply for unemployment assistance, if you said your date of impact, which is a date in March, but you applied in, let's say, May, you will get paid retroactively. That's called retroactive benefits. You get back to the first day at which you were impacted by COVID-19. Now, what you have to do, and this is great news, is you have to certify for benefits every week. You have to go into your online portal for your state and indicate that you're impacted by COVID-19 for that week if you were. And if you are, you will get benefits. What's also great news about this is that you will get not just your state benefit, but the $600 from the federal government. And for every week from March to July, you will get that. Now, come this fall, if you are back at work, two things can happen. First, under PUA, in states, PUA says that if your hours are reduced, but you're still getting paid, you can still get benefits. Yes. So let me explain this to you. As an independent contractor, if you got paid, let's say, $100 last week, well, you still are qualified for pandemic unemployment assistance if that was still a reduction of your number of hours, and if it was because of COVID-19. So when you go to certify for benefits, you would state in that week you got paid that amount. It would reduce the amount of benefits you would normally get, but you would still get paid. It's a good thing. Now, as you know, this channel has also detailed the Portman Plan. The Portman Plan, which is a proposal, has not yet been approved, would also pay you when you go back to work, or if you're back at work, retroactive benefits. It would pay you $445 per week. So, in a way, you could get benefits from two different regards. So let's say you went back to work this week, but under the Portman Plan, he's not happy that you have a reduced number of hours. Under the Portman Plan, you would get $445 from the federal government for this week because you had reduced hours. Under PUA, you might also qualify for assistance because you did not have a full amount of schedule. It's great news. All these things are very fluid, but the one thing that is not fluid, the one thing that has existed right now, is that states will pay you additional weeks of benefits even beyond the normal 52-week period. So you'll get the $600 from the federal government now, but don't worry, because if you're laid off in the fall, you'll get additional weeks of benefits from the federal government. Coming up later today is our third video on the second stimulus package, the Main Street Lending Program, with new exciting great news from the Federal Reserve after a hearing today before members of Congress.